This is Friday Evening's Undercard. On our wrestling show today, we talk about our Ultimate WrestleMania card, featuring Hulk Hogan, The Rock, John Cena, and all the biggest stars in the WWE, past and present. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Friday Evening's Undercard. I'm Gentleman John. He's electrifying Eric. Eric, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. How are you doing over there?
I'm doing pretty fantastic this evening. All right, listeners, this is one of those special episodes we said we were going to come out with. This is the, what do we want to call this, man? The WrestleMania Super Card?
Yeah, or maybe the Ultimate WrestleMania.
The Ultimate WrestleMania card. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down the list, and we're going to do 11 matches, and we're going to pick out what maybe we think is kind of the best 11 or maybe the most representative 11 matches to fill out a WrestleMania card.
Yeah, and I think we should give the listeners a little bit of background. This is an idea that we have been toying with for well over a year.
Probably more like close to 5 years, because
Did we actually start talking about some of this down at Mania 30?
I think we did. I think I had either talked about doing something on YouTube, like a video or an audio or something. But yeah, we definitely talked about doing this while we were down there in New Orleans for Mania 30.
Now, I know last year when we were in Montreal, we definitely started hashing out some of this. Kind of fitting we were at the scene of the Montreal screw job. I mean, it was literally like 3 blocks down the road when we were talking about this.
Yeah, I think we could actually see the arena from the hotel room.
Yeah, well, I remember, and we knew we were so close that the waitress said, "You guys want to put a drink order in because the hockey game's almost over and we're about to get hit with Canadian fans." So
oh yeah, I do remember that.
it's like they have their own version of incoming in Canada. So, but yeah, I think we should. When we thought about it, at a certain level, you could just go the best 11 matches ever, and you could have like Stone Cold show up 3 times, or Michaels, 10 times. We just felt this has got to be at least something that could be reasonably booked if you didn't factor in issues like age, time, things like that. So we're not going to have like you're not going to have like The Rock in 5 different.
No, not going to have The Rock in 5 matches. Hulk Hogan's not going to be in 5 matches, that sort of thing.
I'm not working 5 matches, brother.
You got to pay me 5 times, brother.
Yeah, so I mean, that's why we didn't do it. Even in our alternate universe, the Hogan rules still apply.
Well, that was the funny thing. Did you see the episode where Cornette did his WrestleMania card, like how they should have done it after the WCW thing?
Yes.
Where he's like, and Hulk Hogan is going to go against Dusty Rhodes, and it's going to be a DQ because the managers come in, and he's like, because the American Dream ain't going to do no job in front of 75,000 people, baby. And Hulk Hogan's not going to do a job in front of any number of people, brother.
So as we get into this, I mean, if this is going to be WrestleMania, should we pick our venue where we want to have it?
Ooh, I didn't think about that, but yeah, I think we should.
I mean, we can kind of ad-lib a little here. I mean, I think there's a couple ways we could do it. I mean, do you go to the Garden? Because of the history that's there.
Yeah, I mean, that was my first thought when you brought that up. I was like, well, it's got to be the Garden, doesn't it? But then I thought for another second.
Or are we looking at, a massive arena that, we're talking about Texas Stadium where we want to, pack the house of 100,000 people. But yeah. I'm thinking, you know what? I think, though, historically, I think you got to go with the Garden. It's the site of the first. You had WrestleMania 10 there. I think you got to go with the Garden.
Yeah, I would. I'd go with the Garden. I mean, obviously, maybe you get 20,000 people in there. Whereas, yeah, Texas Stadium, you could put 100. But yeah, for history, yeah, man, I think you got to go with the Garden.
Yeah, I think so. Now, I think we're going to look announce team for this one.
I think we should. Yeah.
Are we going to do this like old style WrestleMania where we have like, one crew the whole time, or are we going to do like kind of, more modern WrestleMania where you could have, the SmackDown team and the Raw team, and because I mean, at a certain level, if you're not, well, let's start with our backstage interviewer. Well, there's only one person that's going to be.
There can only be one.
That's Mean Gene Okerlund.
It's got to be Mean Gene. Yeah, that's
so Mean Gene's our backstage interviewer.
No question.
But then for the announce team, you could make, do you go Gorilla and Bobby? Do you go Gorilla and Jesse? Or do we go JR and the King? And also, hey, what about Vince?
Yeah, man, it's so hard, the two picks with Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah.
Because Heenan was so good at everything he did. And that being said, Gorilla and Jesse worked really well together.
I think they're a very underrated team. I think if Bobby was not as great as he was, I think a lot of people would really kind of consider Jesse and Gorilla up there. I think it's just Bobby Heenan's like this massive, like, shining light that kind of obscures anything else.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at Heenan.
And I mean, I think maybe, I think for our purposes, I think we go, if I had to pick like who I would want to listen to, I think it's going to be Gorilla and Bobby.
Yeah,
just because I want 4 hours of Bobby Heenan one-liners.
Although, let's just go ahead and get this one out there. We will bring Jesse Ventura in for one match.
Well, there we go. We got him on the show.
Because Heenan's going to be managing one of these matches. And once we get into it, I don't think it's going to be too hard to figure out which of the matches Heenan's managing.
No, I don't. I have a good feeling of what it's probably going to be.
Yeah. Just a quick break in the action, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to follow us on social media, we can be found on Instagram at Friday Evenings Undercard, on Twitter at FUndercard, on Facebook by going to facebook.com/Friday Evenings Undercard, or you can reach us via email at fridayeveningsundercard@gmail.com. Please have a listen to our interviews with the stars of Ohio Valley Wrestling, and also our interview with Professional Wrestling Hall of Famer Bobby Fulton. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and give us that 5-star review on iTunes. It'd mean a lot to us. Now let's get you right back to the action.
Now, do we want to do this, kind of the order we would have it appear in the card, or are we just going to kind of do, these are the 11 matches we'd have, sort them out as you wish?
Yeah, I didn't go in any particular order. I think it does go in like a reasonable order, but I didn't put it in any particular order.
Yeah, because, in some cases, we're going to have a couple main events on this, I'm sure.
There's going to be a lot of like legitimate main event matches.
Yeah, so I think, for our listeners, don't think that, if we say have a match go on first, like, don't blow us up on social media being like, you guys are idiots who think this is the match that should kick off WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Or you can call us idiots. It's your right.
It's fine.
But,
any press is good press, right?
Yeah, I guess so. So I guess while we're at it, should we like tag this with hashtag Kofi Mania?
Absolutely. Although I do have to admit, in the 11 matches I put down, Kofi did not wind up on the card.
Well, maybe if we do this next year.
If we edit it next year, he might be.
Maybe he might. So, spoiler alert if you've not watched SmackDown yet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or have just ignored the internet for today.
They actually released that before SmackDown was filmed.
Yeah, I did see that.
I don't remember if it was an Instagram ad or if it was like a Twitter ad, but one way or another, it was like a paid video ad that they put out on some platform, and it totally had Kofi against Daniel Bryan in the event.
Well, I actually did see, I think Kofi commented on Twitter or Instagram. He said something along the lines of, I still don't believe it. It's probably just another way they're messing with me and the fans, which I was like, man, that's a pretty good way for covering that botch, because that's a pretty huge botch.
Yeah, it is. Well, and so they announced the women's match as the alleged main event, right? And my first response to that was, hey, wait a minute. Is it actually going to be the last match of the night? Or are they just doing this normal bait and switch stuff that they do where they'll advertise 5 matches as the main event, but Hunter still goes on last?
Yeah, and I think they addressed that pretty clearly, that it will be the one that closes the show.
Did they talk about that on SmackDown last night?
Yeah, I think they pretty much made it clear that's going to be the one that ends the show.
I didn't see SmackDown. I saw some of the results. I saw that Charlotte won the SmackDown Championship, which is, I don't know what I think about that.
But enough about the upcoming WrestleMania.
Yes, let's get to this.
Because that's just a normal WrestleMania.
This is the
a mere mortal WrestleMania.
Yes, this is the
ultimate WrestleMania.
Okay.
All right. So first match out of the gate. What do you got?
Okay, I've got a cheater. One of two cheaters I'm going to have. So this will be this is the pre-show match. Tito Santana against the Executioner from WrestleMania 1.
Wow.
For one reason.
Fair enough.
For one reson. Because Tito against the Executioner was the first match to ever be on a WrestleMania card.
You know, I like the historical significance there. Why not?
So,
plus, I don't think we have to worry about, oh man, we've got 7 Tito Santana classic matches we've now ruined.
No. This is definitely the only time you're going to see Tito on this card. You're not going to see Tito Santana against Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 8. That's a true statement.
Yeah, Michaels has other work to do tonight.
Michaels has some other very quality matches that we could put in here.
And I think we should, let's just address Michaels kind of early with this. Because, I mean, really, which Michaels match do you go with? I mean, because I don't think it's hyperbole when they do call him Mr. WrestleMania.
Yeah, gosh, you could just go down the line. I mean, you could arguably put the match with Stone Cold in there because of the historical significance.
Yep.
You could put the Bret Hart Iron Man match in there.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget the match with Razor for the Intercontinental Championship.
The match with Razor. I knew there was something I was forgetting there.
And also, think about his match with Taker.
Yep.
His retirement match.
Yeah, the 25 or 26 match with Undertaker. The Flair match.
Well, when I was thinking about this, I actually, for my Michaels match, I have the Flair match.
Okay. I can see that. I mean, it's hard to argue with that.
Well, because I'm also thinking, you can Flair has had better matches at WrestleMania, but I think for just the significance of this match, and also I think if you're going to have WrestleMania, you got to have Flair on your card.
Absolutely.
I mean, however you want to do it. And I don't think you want to put him in with Taker or something like that. I think that's why I went Michaels and Flair starting out. I think that's the Michaels match I would go with. Because, A, it was a great match. It told a great story. And at the time, we thought it would be the last match that Ric Flair ever wrestles again in his life. And also, you talk about one of the things I think WWE does so well is their ability at big events like this to get those just really amazing camera shots. And, the one right before Sweet Chin Music, I'm sorry, I love you, lights out Flair. That was perfect.
Yeah, it's such a classic moment to see. All right, well, while we are on the topic of Shawn Michaels, I will go ahead and give my Shawn Michaels match. I went with the Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker match from WrestleMania 25.
I don't think you can go wrong with that one, to be honest.
I still say that match is the best match I have ever seen live on TV. I've probably seen better matches going back and watching stuff from the past. Some of those great War Games matches that the NWA did and that sort of thing. But as far as actually watching it as it happened, it's got to be the Flair match. Or I'm sorry, the Shawn Michaels Undertaker match at 25.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it was one, and also I think what's interesting because it's still part of the Taker streak era. It's now something that was a big deal. And, it was also at a big show. The 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. Yep. And I think, it was also one that I think, there was times where it looked like it was going to happen. And arguably you're pitting maybe the two greatest performers in WrestleMania history together.
You could definitely make a case for that.
So, I think with Michaels, I think really you're going with either the Flair match or you're going for one of the ones from Taker. I think.
Most likely. It's hard to pick a different one, even though they are so good. Yes, obviously the ladder match is incredible, but is the total package that goes around that ladder match better than the story they told with either with either of the Undertaker matches or with the Flair match?
Absolutely. All right, so we've sort of addressed Michaels and we've sort of gotten Taker here. So what do you got for your second match? All right.
So this is actually the match I had first because it is actually an opening match. Triple H against Daniel Bryan from Mania 30.
Okay. Interesting choice. And we were actually in the crowd for this one.
We were in the building. The thing is the the most difficult thing about going through this, because limiting it to 11 matches, and even with me kind of cheating with the Tito Santana match, there's going to be some people left off the card. It's just, that's the bottom line. There's just no way to get everybody on the card.
Actually, we're going to have a giant Andre the Giant battle royal.
I actually thought about that.
So everybody will get their
Everybody will get their Mania payday.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this too. I mean, I think what's amazing is right now. I mean, as hot of a heel as Bryan is right now, I've not seen a reaction in crowds like that really since the heyday of Stone Cold.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was, unbelievable reaction.
Yeah, I mean, the build was great. I mean, the place was hot. It was not a bad match to pick. And I think as far as a Triple H match goes, we can't use, say, his match against Taker.
No, you can't use. Didn't he? He's worked 3 matches against Undertaker at Mania, hasn't he?
Yeah, so I mean, we've already gotten Taker on the card. So
yeah, because it just wouldn't be feasible to say, okay, we're going to put Undertaker against Shawn Michaels, but then we're going to do the Undertaker Hunter match in the cage. Because if you were going to go with one of the Hunter matches, it's the one in the cage, right? But there's got to be like at least a little bit of realism to this.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know what? For those two, I don't really have a problem. I don't have a problem with
that. No, because obviously you have to have Triple H on the card. I think he's second only to The Undertaker in WrestleMania appearances.
Yeah, and I think you have to. Of course, people have plenty of opinions on Triple H, but he's got to be on the card.
Yeah, absolutely. And Daniel Bryan he's an interesting one because he doesn't have a tremendous body of work in the WWE because he got there much later and then he was injured. And so it's different.
Well, I think it's like, you could say he doesn't have a wide body of work, but man, what he did put out there, WrestleMania 30 was the peak of it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're surely not going to put the Sheamus match in there. The next year it was him and Kane against somebody, as I remember. And then it was the double duty at Mania 30. And then I think he did the ladder match at 31, and then he was out for a while.
Yeah, I think this is I think you get, and for one, it was a very entertaining match. So I think I'd put that on my card as well. So.
All right. You ready for the next one?
Yeah, let's go to number 3.
Bret Hart against Stone Cold, Mania 13.
That is one that is on my list because, it's what really, I think I've never seen a better double turn in pro wrestling history.
No, that was so perfectly executed the way they did it.
And we talk about iconic images. Stone Cold Steve Austin, middle of the ring, in the sharpshooter, screaming in pain, blood literally squirting out of his head. That's Austin in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's what got him just into the next stratosphere. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and also you could say that's maybe the moment. That his build was building at that point. You had what he did at King of the Ring. You had it's starting to really start to percolate. But man, that Mania moment, he just gets a rocket pack strapped to him, and after that, the rest is history.
Yeah, just unbelievable the way they did that, the way that match worked.
And also, I think we're looking at, two of the, more iconic figures in WWF, WWE history, and Bret Hart and Stone Cold.
Yes, without a doubt. And it's hard to make a case for another match from Bret Hart.
Yeah, we could say maybe with Michaels, but we've got Michaels elsewhere in our card.
Yeah, you could go with the Iron Man match. That's true.
And actually, and to be honest, the match he had with his brother
Owen
about
to say that
was a tremendous match. But yeah, I think as far as just what we're looking for, this is
because you're not really going to use the Piper match.
No.
And let's see. I think everything else would be a tag team match. I think all the way up to Mania 7, he was still working in the tag team.
Yeah, so I think this is really the peak match, and I think for Austin, You know, you can maybe include some of the stuff Austin did with The Rock, but for me, The Rock is taken elsewhere in my card.
He's obviously somewhere else in mine too.
Yeah, so that's where we. I think we both. Definitely have to agree on this one. This is where you want Stone Cold in your card.
All right, you mentioned The Rock. Where do you have him?
You know, this might be maybe a little controversial, but I'm going to have The Rock and Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Ooh, okay.
Icon versus icon. Now, I really I was on the fence about this one because the easy answer for Hogan is clearly WrestleMania 8 against Sid Justice.
No. You got it all wrong. The clear answer for Hogan is WrestleMania 9 against Yokozuna.
Oh, yeah. Or, maybe WrestleMania 2 against King Kong Bundy. Rest in peace.
Yes, indeed. But that match for its time was actually pretty good. They did a really good build. It was in a cage.
Yeah, the old classic.
I think we just forget about that match because it's WrestleMania 2 and nobody really thinks about WrestleMania 2. Everybody thinks about the first one, everybody thinks about the third one, and then the second one just kind of gets skipped.
And of course, in all seriousness, you could argue Hogan versus Andre. We've talked about it in a previous episode of the show, just of its importance to the industry, of its importance in the moment. But I'll tell you, I don't have real memories of that match, say watching it live. I do remember watching The Rock and Hogan.
Yes, I remember that match as well.
And I think it was just, at this point, Hogan's a little, he's sort of at the tail end of his career here. But man, talk about a highly entertaining match. I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, technically, you're having Hogan working as a heel at WrestleMania.
Yes.
But, of course, he kind of, sort of in the middle, it becomes, he starts getting a very face reaction.
He got a face reaction from the time his music hit.
Yeah. So, I think it's, that would be where I would have Hogan and The Rock on my card.
Okay. Well, my pick for The Rock might be even more controversial than yours because I have The Rock against John Cena from Mania 27.
You mean the twice in a lifetime match?
I have the once in a lifetime match.
No,
they did the twice in the lifetime next year.
It's not a bad pick. I mean, you get Cena on the show, which I think you got to have Cena.
And actually, that's one of the difficulties with Cena. Almost the same difficulty you have with Hogan. If you don't want Hogan in the championship match, you are extremely limited.
Yes.
Because offhand, I can only think of 2 Hulk Hogan matches where he wasn't in the championship match. Well, okay, technically 3. Because Mania 4, he had the rematch with Andre in the tournament, but surely you wouldn't use that. And then it's the match against The Rock, and then I think the next year he wrestled Vince, and that's it.
Yeah, I think this, this is kind of a hard time when you kind of look at this show of how we're going to do this. It's just, once again, it's so easy to just say, hey, the top 11 matches in WrestleMania history. That's easy. But to try to actually make it work with the various characters and performers, that's a little more challenging.
It is. And so that's why I went with this match with Cena, because it is definitely the biggest match he's done at WrestleMania when he wasn't in a championship match.
Very true.
Obviously, he had the great match at WrestleMania 23, but that was for the championship. He was in the championship. He was in a championship match at WrestleMania 20. I don't think anybody would ever use that against the Big Show, but and then, surely you're not going to use the tag team match that he did with Nikki against The Miz.
Yeah, that was not an instant classic,
and it has not aged well either.
No, not at all.
It's actually probably worse now with age.
Yeah. All right. So we want to keep moving down the list a little bit here.
Yeah, man. Where do you have Cena?
I think with Cena, when I look at his body of work, the challenge is that you have him with The Rock. That's a really solid pick. I think a lot of it kind of comes down to where do I want to use Hogan in the show. And so, I dare I say I might have to put Cena in my Andre the Giant Battle Royal, if you will.
Wow.
Of maybe have him go over in that. Because of other people I'd want him to work with, I feel they work in a better place in the show.
Wow, John Cena in the Battle Royal.
At least he's not sitting in the crowd.
Well, that's true.
And notice I said he goes over in that event.
But then that's just going to lead to him getting buried.
Well, he's not Cesaro.
Dude, everybody that's won that Battle Royals got buried. What's Mojo Rawley done?
Probably going to be hanging out with Gronk in retirement.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Gronk retires, Mojo will be future endeavored.
That's true. You don't get retirement checks from the WWE. Okay, so wow.
So
I'm dumbfounded here. Cena in the Battle Royal. Okay.
But I do have him go over it. So I mean, it'll at least be it's not like he's it's not like he's one of the NFL players in the Battle Royal. So and of course now that we have kind of removed at least I have removed Hogan from the equation, that also creates a little bit of an issue of, since this is the Ultimate WrestleMania, what do we do with the Ultimate Warrior?
What do we do with the Ultimate Warrior? Well,
I'll tell you what I did with the Ultimate Warrior. I paired him with Macho Man Randy Savage. So there we go. So because if you can't use the WrestleMania 6 match, you got to use the match he had with Savage.
It's got to be with Savage. He was on the card, I believe, at WrestleMania 4, but I don't remember what he did. I don't remember who he went against. At 5, I believe he went against Rick Rude, and Bobby Heenan screwed him out of the Intercontinental Belt. 6, you have the Hogan match, and 7, here we are with the Macho Man match. And the only other match that he had was it 12 when he squashed Hunter?
Part of me almost wanted to include that as my because I just almost went Savage Steamboat and then have Warrior squash Hunter.
That would have been an interesting pick.
Just for because it would have been hilarious. Like the idea today of Hunter getting squashed
in 90 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, Macho Man against the Warrior. It's got to be. It may not be the best match the Macho Man ever had, but it was probably the best story he ever told in a match at Mania.
Yes. Well, and you have the moment with Miss Elizabeth coming out, and all is well. And I mean, also, he got a great match out of the Warrior.
That is difficult to do.
If you ever want to talk about how good of a performer Macho Man Randy Savage is, it's one thing to put in an instant classic with Ricky Steamboat. It's another thing to do it with the Ultimate Warrior.
That it is.
So that's where I went with that one. So we're in agreement on that.
Yeah, and I mean, just even looking down Macho Man's list at Mania, let's see, you would have had George Steele at Mania 2, Steamboat at Mania 3. Yes, that could have been on the card for sure. Mania 4, he had 4 matches, so you're not really going to use any of those. Mania 5 was Hulk. Mania 6, he worked a tag team match, didn't he? It was him and Sherry against Dusty and Sapphire.
Man, maybe we should just do that just so we have Sapphire on the show.
Oh, sweet
Sapphire,
baby.
Say what, people will call Sunny the original diva. Folks, if you don't say Sapphire's your original diva, you need to put down the meth
Dusty
pipe.
Rhodes walking down the aisle with them polka dots on. A $500,000 check in my pocket. I took it right to the pay window, baby.
Son of a plumber.
Oh, man.
For reference, if anybody ever is on the WWE Network, I love how the WWE Network has shows that have just gone away, for no real reason. And they did the show Countdown. Do yourself a favor and find Dean Ambrose doing a Dusty Rhodes impression. It's good stuff.
He did that one in the Shockmaster episode, right? That's got to be the one you're talking about. Yeah, it's oh God, what is it? The top 10 biggest blunders. Yeah.
Which I went back and watched that show recently. How the heck Shockmaster is number 2 is beyond
it's a fan
me.
vote.
But as we all know, wrestling fans, they don't always make the best choices.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a fan vote on a WWE website. So you probably got a lot of people on there who didn't know what the Shockmaster is.
It's very true.
Listen, I would travel far and wide to see the Shockmaster come out in that bedazzled Stormtrooper helmet and that big fur coat thing. I would travel a long way to see that.
If he would do a yearly reenactment of that, break out the flare for the gold
and
set.
The sparklers and everything.
Oh yeah, I want it all, and and pipe in Flair going, oh no, and oh god, yeah. And then I think Davey Boy said something like he fell in his arse or something like that.
Booker T had a great comment too. That's not really safe for radio.
Yeah, we can't say
Jim
that.
Cornette can, but we're not going to go there.
No, we're not corny. All right, so we've got Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior on the card. And I know some people are probably going to say, well, why don't you use Macho Man and Steamboat? It's a great match, but honestly, does anybody really remember that story? I mean, really, it's almost kind of one-sided, and that takes nothing away from Ricky Steamboat, but everybody remembers the Macho Man promos from around that. The cream rises to the top, cup of coffee, and then the match. But, I think I'm thinking of iconic WrestleMania moments. It's got to be when he and Miss Elizabeth get back together.
Absolutely.
All right, so on my list, I thought about, you know what? We can't just all have singles matches. We got to have some tag team matches.
We do.
And when I thought of the tag team match I want, I actually went back to WrestleMania 17, tables, ladders, and chairs, the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, and the Hardy Boys.
Yeah, that's where I went to. I mean, unbelievable match. Holds up today. And obviously that was for the tag team championship too.
You get some pretty big performers in Jeff Hardy and Edge in. It's all solid workers in this match. And I think it's a match that you could argue, was one of those matches that stole the show.
That it did. And to steal the card on that Mania 17 show is saying something.
Yes. I mean, you could argue that's one of the better WrestleManias ever.
Yeah, you wouldn't be stretching it. I mean, if you said that was one of the top 2 or 3, I don't think anybody's going to argue with you.
No. So I think this is a good match. I think we get everybody here. Great spots, iconic moments. So, wow, there we go. We're in agreement on another one. So.
I don't have it in front of me, and it would take a while to look up. Combined between those 6 guys, and even Rhino, because Rhino was in the match. Well, and so was Spike Dudley and Lita. How many combined main promotion heavyweight championships do those 6 guys have?
Wow. Yeah.
Because obviously Jeff was offhand, I think he won 3 or 4 in WWE. Edge has got to be at 9 or 10. I think Christian's at 2, but that's just in the WWE because both of the Hardys main evented in Impact. I think both of them, or at the very least Matt, main evented in Ring of Honor. Bubba Ray Dudley has main evented in both of those companies. Christian is a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, I think, and also not count that, how many tag team championships do those guys have between them?
Oh my gosh, just in WWE, surely it's close to 20.
Yes, I mean, really, you're talking about 3 of the more decorated tag teams in history. I know, I think also we're looking at, really, as far as tag team matches, this is kind of it, I think you're really hard-pressed to find a tag team match that's going to surpass this one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, at Mania, the only other one you could argue would have been the other match with these 3 teams from the year before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this was one of those matches that I really didn't have to think about. Like, I knew for the tag team championship, this was going to be the match, and you just figure out the rest of the card around these 6 guys.
Absolutely. And also, we kind of get a bit of a gimmick match, but a good type of gimmick match.
Yeah, it was back before so much of this stuff had been done over and over and over. And when the stuff it made sense to see them do it, because it doesn't make sense. And I don't even remember which one of them was. Shelton Benjamin, John Morrison, I can't remember, when they held the ladder and did the backflip onto the guys. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, everything in this match, really what I just loved was just sort of it's 3 teams that everybody is just clawing and scraping to try to win those titles. Whatever it takes to win is what they're going to do. And so, tremendous match.
Yes. Unbelievable match.
So we got a tag team match. So we got a tag team on here. So what are we going to go with now? Of course, you had Taker earlier in the match. Yes, I did. Now, for me, I'm going to go. I have Taker on my card. but it's going to be Taker and Brock Lesnar.
Okay, I can buy that.
Even though this is not maybe one of Taker's greatest performances in a ring, I would pay money to once again hear the Superdome go completely silent like it did at WrestleMania 30.
It's unbelievable. I actually talked about this last night. So as we're recording this for the listeners, I interviewed Dimes from Ohio Valley Wrestling. And if you want to go check that out, go check it out. He's an unbelievable interview. But he brought up that his dream match would be against The Undertaker at Mania, and we started talking about this match, and I was like, the telecast does no justice for just how quiet that building got.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'll be honest. Let's face it, we were not getting the commemorative WrestleMania 30
No,
seat.
We were not in the $10,000 tickets.
We were up there. We weren't all the way up there, but we were up there. But my initial reaction when it happened is I thought somehow the ref botched the count. And because there's this weird moment where there's silence, and then Lesnar's music hits, and then the graphics go up, and then it's like, oh my gosh. We have just witnessed, maybe it's because I'm there, I'm partial to it. I think the most shocking WrestleMania moment.
Yes, it has to be the most shocking. There's just nothing. I mean, come on, what else are we going to say? Like the Hardys coming back or something like that? No, man, come on. There's nothing that has or ever will shock the people like that did.
Yeah, I mean, because I think the streak had gotten to the point where everybody just sort of felt, okay, he's going to go undefeated for his career at WrestleMania. Like, he's this beloved character. By some accounts, he's maybe Vince's favorite performer of all time. And I can remember when we were walking out of the parking lot, and you talk about a tremendous main event. Daniel Bryan goes over for the World Championship, and I remember all we were talking about in the parking lot there was Taker lost the match.
It's unbelievable.
So, that's where I would have Taker on my card.
I can buy that. Okay, so this is my cheater match where I have the guy do double duty. And you'll see why I did this, because of who I had to get into the card. WrestleMania 20, The Rock and Mick Foley against Evolution.
Okay.
Flair, Batista, and Orton. It was a handicap match. And I did the math on this.
Right.
Between those 5 guys, they have 50 combined World Heavyweight Championship reigns.
That's serious stuff there.
Surely, anything short of a Battle Royal, because, probably one of the Royal Rumbles has had it, but surely that's got to be the most World Heavyweight Championships ever in the ring at the same time.
Well, I will echo some of those statements, because when we thought about doing our double duty, if you will, I kind of thought about, all right, it's got to be a guy that, at least in my mind, actually pulled double duty at WrestleMania. And we had Daniel Bryan and Triple H earlier. I actually thought about throwing in the main event from WrestleMania 30. You get Orton, you get Batista, and you get Daniel Bryan in the ring. And you keep that great story with Triple H. You have that nice continuation there. And also, for as silent as the Superdome got, when Bryan went over, that place was rocking.
Crazy. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, it got unbelievable when they hauled him on the stretcher and he broke out of the stretcher.
Yeah. I mean, and also, it's no joke. We're walking out of the Superdome, and all you hear throughout is yes, yes, yes. I mean, it was pretty awesome. So So that's where I would have at least Batista and Randy.
Okay,
Orton
so you would go with Daniel Bryan doing the 2 main, you didn't have Daniel Bryan and Hunter, right?
That's actually where I had Hunter on my card.
Okay, right on. And then so you went with the triple threat also at Mania? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to cheat a little with The Rock. I had to have him do the double duty, and I didn't feel too bad about it because it's a tag team match.
Yeah, it's a tag team match, playa. All right, so we got that. Now, I think we have to look, if we're going to have a show, I think we have to have a women's match. And I think, frankly, we're only looking in the last couple of years for this. But if I'm going to go with a women's match at WrestleMania, I'm going WrestleMania 32. Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch.
Yeah. Definitely hard to argue that one.
Although I think you could even say Charlotte against Asuka last year.
Yeah, they wrestled a heck of a match. They really did.
But I think with this, you're getting 3 women that are really kind of synonymous with the women's evolution. So I think historically they are important. And this is also a tremendous match.
And I think also this was kind of the first women's match where you really knew they were taking women's wrestling seriously. Because even when we were there in 30, where you did have AJ, who was a legitimate, like a really good worker, it was the bathroom break match. You know, and it was like 12 women. It was just this big, just bodies going everywhere. And AJ won. By submission, by the way, which makes no sense because there's 10 other people just laying around. What, you knocked everybody cold and nobody can get in the ring to break this submission up? But that's neither here nor there.
Well, if a match happens and everybody's at the bathroom, does it really happen?
That's true.
Actually, have we included our bathroom break match on WrestleMania?
I haven't, but I'll get to it.
Okay, fair enough. I actually did not think of that.
I didn't use it as a bathroom break match necessarily, but it's not a great match. It's another kind of a cheater match.
All right, so we got our women's match. We had a tag team match.
I'm gonna pull one out of left field on you for the women's match that I picked.
Okay.
WrestleMania 10. Alundra Blaze against Leilani Kai.
Ooh, that would be one. That's an interesting pick there.
Because okay, listen. The Charlotte match, yes, they're unbelievably better matches. And that's partly because of who the opponent was. Because the thing with Alundra Blaze, whatever, I'm going to call her Medusa. The thing with Medusa is that she was so much better than pretty much every other woman they put against her, except for maybe like Bull Nakano. That the match just looked ridiculous because she was that much better. And that's not trying to just dump on Leilani Kai because she's not terrible, but she's from a different time period. She's from that Moolah time period.
Yes.
So it's a different match, but I think it works good. It gets Medusa on the card. She's as we're recording this, she's one of the very small handful of women's wrestlers who are in the WWE Hall of Fame. And so I think it was a good fit to just put her on the card.
Fair enough.
All right, what match you got next?
Well, not because it's a technical masterpiece, but it's one that I thoroughly enjoyed as a kid. And I actually went back and watched it just because it's so ridiculous. It's so pro wrestling. I'm going to WrestleMania 12.
I think I know where you're going.
The Hollywood Backlot Brawl. Because I think you almost got to have Roddy Piper on the show. And so if you're going to get Piper on the show and you can't use him with Hogan, and you can't use him with Bret Hart.
You ain't going to use him with Adrian Adonis.
No, you're not. So I like Piper and Goldust. I like the fact that at one point Piper jumps into a white Bronco. Now, fast forward, kids, this is 1996.
Yes, 96.
OJ was a big deal. And the fact they recreated the Bronco chase, never mind the fact in real life that was like Al Cowlings driving OJ down the freeway, and OJ has a gun to his head. Serious business. And in this case, it's Roddy Piper chasing Goldust to the Anaheim Pond so he can beat him and then eventually strip him down to next to nothing. But a fun match. I mean, it's kind of a gimmick match, but it's actually pretty fun.
The funny thing about it is that they just reused the O.J. Simpson footage.
Yes, I know. That's the even better part.
And that is actually pretty good because it gets Goldust on the card too, and he has been in the wrestling business for a long time.
I remember back to watching him in WCW as the natural Dustin Rhodes.
Yes.
And I think also, Goldust is one of those guys, he was never a top guy, but talk about longevity of a career and still being just as entertaining today as he was back in like 1992, and still being able to hold up. You got to give that guy some credit.
And
you know what? You talk about certain things being genetic, man. There's wrestling in the DNA of the Rhodes family.
And not to get too far off, because this could be an entire other episode, but Goldust has got to be, Dustin Rhodes, whatever you want to call him, he has got to be on the short list of like the best wrestlers who never won a World Heavyweight Championship.
Absolutely.
At least from like 1990 and onwards, because before 1990, there's dozens and dozens of incredible wrestlers who never won a world championship, but because it was a different business. But after 1990, surely he's on the short list of, the best to never win a world championship.
And he's also on one of my favorite lists of all time, guys who are given one of the worst gimmicks ever who made it work.
Did make it work, yeah.
That's what I call the Undertaker Award.
Yes, that gimmick had no business making it.
And, yeah, I mean, and also, you know what? Could you pull off an androgynous character today in 2019? Absolutely. Try doing that in the mid-90s.
Yeah, it was a little more difficult back then. He was getting a little more heat for it back then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, and he almost got killed by Ahmed Johnson.
He's not the only one.
So, yeah, that's true. All right, so we got my kind of like little gimmicky match. So what number are we up to now?
Man, I don't know. I've got 3 matches on my card that don't have little checks by them.
All right, so I guess we're now up to, what, 8?
Yeah, I've gone through 8.
Somewhere around there. All right, we'll just say we're moving to match number 9.
Yeah, so what match do you have for your Intercontinental Championship? Because I don't think you've gone over that one. Well, actually, I guess I should preface this. For your secondary championship, whether it's the U.S. belt or the Intercontinental or whatever.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I think if you're looking at a match, we try to get, I think one of the challenges of WrestleMania card, just like today, is trying to get everybody on the show. And actually, the one I thought about was actually the Intercontinental Championship ladder match from WrestleMania 32, where Zack Ryder goes over.
Yeah, I can see that. I think The Miz was in it.
You've got The Miz, you've got Stardust, you've got Sami Zayn, you've got Kevin Owens, you've got Dolph Ziggler, you've got Zack Ryder, and you got Sin Cara. Not that people are really showing up to see Sin Cara, but you get a lot of good performers on your show. It was a really good, entertaining match. And kind of nice to see, a guy like Zack Ryder get his WrestleMania.
Yeah, that was actually interesting. I thought about that one as well, but then I went and looked to see who else I wanted to get on the card. And so I went, this might get some people talking because of who's in it. WrestleMania 16, the double title match for the Intercontinental and the European Championships. And that's just by accident. I didn't pick it because it had the European title in there. Kurt Angle against Chris Jericho against that guy who shall not be named, but his name's Chris Benoit.
I actually think I'm going to, I think I'm going to go with your pick on that one. I think that's a really solid pick, although, if this is on the WWE Network, that match would be heavily edited, just so.
Is it? Because I haven't gone back and tried to watch it.
I'm just joking because, they remove everything, around.
Yeah, I have actually wondered how much of his stuff they've taken out.
Yeah, fun fact. I had this discussion with some of my friends here in town, and we were joking about what's the worst wrestling merch you could wear to a show today, and we all came upon the idea of wearing a Chris Benoit t-shirt, and then we wondered how readily available are Chris Benoit t-shirts. Fun fact: they run for about $400 on eBay.
Yeah. They probably do because they're rare. It's just anything anybody's kept because they certainly have not printed one in about 13 years.
Yeah. So, but you know what? I mean, I think this is one of those things where it's hard because this is where truly real life interferes with wrestling, and maybe the worst tragedy in pro wrestling history. But and I know people say, yeah, well, you got to try to separate the tragedy from the body of the guy. But you know what? I think in this case, I hate to say it, you got to get Jericho on the show and you got to get Kurt Angle on the show.
Yeah, and that was that was why I looked at it, because you got to get those two guys on there. I actually debated for a little while having Kurt Angle against Brock Lesnar for the championship.
Yes.
Had I gone with Hogan against Rock, that's probably what I would have done for my championship match, if I didn't go with the Daniel Bryan triple threat match.
All right, so what do we have?
Two matches left.
All right, what do you got?
Okay, let me get back to it on the old computer machine here. I have a battle royal that really took place, and it's because of who's in the battle royal is why I did it. It's the tag team battle royal from WrestleMania 14.
Okay.
So let's go through the participants. The Legion of Doom, managed by Sonny. The New Midnight Express, managed by Jim Cornette, with Bart Gunn and Bob Holly. That's your New Midnight Express, Bart Gunn and Bob Holly. And this is the rest of them. There was 2 Los Boricuas teams. There was the Truth Commission, Bradshaw and Chains. 2 Nation of Domination teams, Mark Henry and D'Lo and Farouk and Kama. The Quebecers were in it. Rock and Roll Express were in it. Headbangers were in it. Too Much or Too Cool or whatever they ended up going by. Brian Christopher and Scotty Too Hottie. Disciples of Apocalypse. Steve Blackman and Flash Funk, and the Godwins. Those are the teams. My main reason for going with that, come on, you got to have the Legion of Doom on the show, surely.
You got to get your Road Warrior.
You got to try to get them on the show. This is the one that made the most sense. You got Jim Cornette on the show. And you got the Rock and Roll on the show. I think this is the only WrestleMania they worked, but you arguably get the 2 best tag teams ever in this match. And so that's why I went with this one. And so this is kind of my bathroom break match.
Fair enough. Well, since we used a little bit of cheating here, the match I included was because I've not included Mick Foley on my card, which I think you got to include him.
Yeah, I mean that's why I went with the Evolution match.
And so I'm going to do a little bit of cheating here because we've had Edge show up in the show earlier as a tag team. I always liked the hardcore match with Foley and Edge at WrestleMania 22.
When you said Foley, I was thinking you were going to do the road. Who was it? The one with the New Age Outlaws and Terry Funk, the dumpster match.
Well, you could do that. But I think, the one thing, this is kind of considered Mick Foley's WrestleMania moment. And it's also just a really brutal match. But, yeah, I think it's the version of Foley I like the most. Like, I like the hard edge, almost Cactus Jack, Mick Foley character. That was the one I always kind of, really, really liked as far as his body of work.
Yeah. It is hard to argue with that one. Certainly a really good match. Was there a special guest referee in that one?
I don't think there was, actually.
Okay. Cool deal. All right, man. We got one match left. We got the world title match. And this is where you got to get Jesse Ventura on the commentary booth because Bobby the Brain Heenan's coming down the aisle with Andre the Giant. Hulk Hogan against Andre from Mania 3.
Yeah. That's maybe the greatest match in WrestleMania. I mean, as far as not technical aspect, but just everything else that goes with it, as we kind of talked about in our WrestleMania 3
just the
show.
Ability to sell tickets.
Yeah. Clearly it did that. No doubt about that. So,
yeah, I mean, that's why I went with it. There's a ton of other matches that you could use depending on who you want in there. I mean, like we said, you could use Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels because of what it did for Austin. You could use the Daniel Bryan match, which you went with.
Yeah, that's the one I went with.
I don't think you're going to go with Hunter and Roman Reigns.
No.
But I mean, you could do Hulk Andre, or not Hulk Andre, Hulk Warrior, if you wanted to go that way. There's certainly some classic championship matches that you could go with, but for me, it was Hulk Andre because of you got to have Hogan on the show. I think Andre's a tough one to leave out because of what he meant for the business as a whole, not necessarily just the WWE, but the business as a whole. And so, yeah, I mean, that's why I went with that one.
All right. Well, my final match, clearly, I've got to have another match here. And I mentioned a battle royal. And, the one glaring omission I will say for me is that I don't have Cena on my card. Not that it's anything against Cena, but, just, hey, somebody's got to go somewhere. And the problem is Cena has really been in a lot of high-profile matches. So if you already go with one title match, you're kind of in trouble here. So you had when all's said and done, I'm going to go with the infamous gimmick battle royal because you got to have some comedy at WrestleMania. And, yeah, WrestleMania 17, you also get, Bobby the Brain, Mean Gene, and you get the Iron Sheik going over because from what I understand, the reason he goes over is because physically he could not be thrown out. Yeah,
that's what I've heard.
Like it was just too dangerous.
His knees were just too blown out to be thrown out, so he won.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going with. You could use it as a bathroom break, you could use it as a comedy spot, but also you get some pretty some pretty famous guys in that match.
Absolutely. Did they bring the gobbledygooker down for that one?
Yes, they did.
Best gimmick ever.
So that's what I have for my final match. And also, it's just, I don't know. I think at WrestleMania there's always a kind of cheesy, hokey comedy match of some kind. That's what I went with.
Yeah, that is a pretty good match. Sergeant Slaughter, Iron Sheik, Cornette's in it, Brother Love. It's a fun match.
Yeah, and I think at a certain level at WrestleMania, it has to be fun. So, yeah, that's what I went with. Okay. So, I love that our two final picks is Andre and Hogan in the gimmick battle royal.
Yeah, it works out well like that. But my second to last pick was kind of a gimmick match too. Okay, so let me see. Some big names that I had to leave off the card. Obviously, you had to leave Cena off. I had to leave off Demolition. And the reason for that is because they only worked 4 matches at WrestleMania. 3 of them were for the tag team championship. And as iconic a tag team as Demolition was in the 80s, I'm not putting one of their tag team matches on the show over the Hardys. The other one was WrestleMania 7, where they went against, I think it was Jinru and Kabuki, but it wasn't the original Demolition. It was Smash and Crush. And so, there you go. Demolition gets left off. Eddie Guerrero got left off. Obviously that's a pretty rough one to leave off. Honky Tonk Man got left off. Rowdy Piper got left off of my card. And again, you don't have a tremendous body of work with Piper. You've got the Mania 1 main event, which would be an interesting one to pick. I mean, that would be an interesting one for the Hogan match because it would open up something else for a championship match. But yeah,
and you do get the celebrity factor too,
which comes up again in Piper's Mania 2 match, which was a boxing match against Mr. T. I'm pretty sure you're not putting that on your show. Mania 3 against Adrian Adonis. And then the next one he worked was Mania 8, right?
I believe so,
and that was against Bret Hart. He was a referee at Mania 10. I don't think he was on the card at all, Mania 9. And then after Mania 10, I don't remember if he was on the card at WrestleMania 11, but Mania 11 was like one of the worst WrestleManias ever, so I can't see him doing anything noteworthy there. And then 12, where he did the Goldust match.
We could go, speaking of WrestleMania 11, do we want to break the internet and have our main event, Bam Bam Bigelow against LT?
No, I don't want to do that one.
Okay.
And then the only other match that Piper did was the handicap match against Jericho. That was Mania 25, as I remember. Yeah. Where it was Jericho against Jimmy Snuka, Rowdy Piper, and Steamboat.
And, that could have actually been an interesting pick if you actually wanted to include that on your card. Because you get some pretty big names in. You get Jericho in. And you do get the celebrity factor when Mickey Rourke ended up punching Jericho.
And, obviously, Flair is the one seconding them to the ring.
Yes, I mean, you do get, that actually would not have been a bad pick, I think, if either one of us had
No, you're right. It
one.
probably would have been pretty good. And another one that I noticed that I left off was Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Obviously that's a tough one. He's got a relatively limited sample size. I did actually, for quite a while as I was going through this, I had his match with Goldberg from Mania 20 on there.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily because of what it was, but sort of what it should have been, and the names involved.
Yes.
Because obviously that means Goldberg's not on the card either, and I don't know if Goldberg necessarily deserves to be on a Mania card.
If we were doing like an all-time WCW pay-per-view,
yeah, if you're doing something from Starrcade, for sure, surely he's got to be on it for Starrcade.
Yeah, but I think he doesn't have to be on it.
No, I mean, he only wrestled 2 Mania matches, right?
That I can think of, yeah.
Both against the same guy.
Yeah, so, all right, well, I guess we have pulled out our ultimate WrestleMania card.
Yes, indeed. And
well, hopefully this will generate some discussion on our social media. Hope you folks at home, tell us your picks. What would you like to see? What do we get wrong? What do we get right? What were our really bad omissions?
Absolutely. And hey, we appreciate you making it all the way to here. We're going pretty long. We're at about probably an hour and 15 or so minutes here, but that's all right. We appreciate everybody listening. We'll be along next week with a regular episode. We'll be going over Saturday night's main event. And talk to you next time.